Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast. This is episode 29. I am Jessica Delmar. I assist in strengthening your knowledge of who you truly are as a powerful creator being during these powerfully shifting times. In this episode, we are going to be talking more about this solar flash and 7-year cycle information that came through. This came through quite some time ago, but as I put out these episodes, the exact information that needs to be put out will be put out. It kind of comes together perfectly. But it's no surprise that this information is coming through right now because it's been the theme of this past week, if you will. And I know you fellow empaths, you fellow water elements are feeling this time right now very, very strongly. Even if you're not empathic, I know that things are coming up for you. And really what came through is it's part of this strengthening of the sun's energy at this time. In the last episode, we spoke about September's energy as well as the full moon really amplifying this shift from inner victimhood or disempowerment into inner empowerment. And there's a lot that goes into this shift, all unique, depending upon you as an individual, what you've gone through and what you need to go through in order to make this big shift. So with this strengthening of the sun's power, the strengthening of the rays penetrating the earth, people, individuals, the collective receiving the sun's knowledge, the sun's nourishment, what it's doing is, like we spoke about, there is a strong divine feminine energy kind of rising to the surface to embrace all of this masculine energy that is falling. And so what this sun's rays and energy and nourishment is doing within you at this time is it's literally kind of sucking out lower vibrational attachments that no longer serve you are being pulled out. It's being magnetized out of your physical form to the surface for you to recognize and consciously transmute as you kind of soften into these layers of feminine energy rising within you at the same time. So they're very much working together. You just have to allow for that energy to flow. You have to allow for that masculine, harsher energy to be embraced by the feminine energy also rising within you as a spiritual being on your journey of ascension. It's happening simultaneously together. And if you allow for yourself to move through this, you will find yourself on the other side. Really, if you're feeling this time very deeply, if it's making you go into deep, dark places, emotionally, energetically, vibrationally, just know that it's okay. Allow yourself to feel everything coming through for you, but feel it with the intention of knowing that you are being comforted and you are being met with this divine mother energy that is holding you in her womb. And in this womb space, you are making this powerful transformation from caterpillar into butterfly. So know that you're going into these places emotionally, energetically, vibrationally, in order to create these shifts. This can mean that you're feeling that unworthiness, you're feeling the lack, you're feeling all of that victim energy, all of the disempowered energy, all the weakness coming through. But again, allow for yourself to feel it, but you have to have the intention that you're going to flow through it rather than drown or sink into it. In connection to that, another strong energy that I've been feeling over the past couple of days has been this desire, this urge, this need to step into what's next. So what it showed me was kind of like in a cocoon phase. When the butterfly is a butterfly in the cocoon, the butterfly has to reach that place, knowing that it has outgrown that cocoon so that it can emerge from the cocoon. This is why it's so important for consciousness at this time. This is why it's so important for you to be conscious of every step that you're taking. This is why it's so important on your part, why you feel the need to understand where you are in your ascension based upon what you are personally going through, because you are monitoring your progress. And this is important in your own individual consciousness as you move forward. So, just like that butterfly emerging from the cocoon, you have to be conscious where you are in terms of when you are ready to step into what's next. A lot of you may be feeling those feelings of almost like you're boxed in, almost like the walls are kind of crumbling in on you, and you have to get out. You have to get past wherever you are because you've outgrown it. Maybe you're not in the place to get into those next steps because you're still in that cocoon phase. But being conscious of where you are allows you to emerge from that cocoon and step into what's next. But the emerging part requires a lot of strength, agility, blind faith, and flexibility. Meaning it's not comfortable. It's not going to be a comfortable shift for a lot of you, especially because you're doing it at the same time that all these things are being pulled out from within you that no longer serve you. Because as you shift from being consciously aware that you're no longer meant to stay in this cocoon and that you're meant to now emerge as a butterfly, that butterfly cannot hold on to any of those lower vibrational things that you may still be holding on to. So the shift is this tremendously powerful shift going on within you. Essentially, all this is really doing is it's trying to build this sense of strength. Again, it's feeding the inner empowerment. If you continue to choose inner empowerment, as you release the victimhood and disempowerment and the things that no longer serve you, then you're putting more energy into that 5D bucket, which will help you to push further along into 5D. But you have to continuously choose that in the midst of this sort of rising of two duality energies at the same time. This whole tumultuous time is really what will move people forward in such powerful ways. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what came through regarding the solar flash and the 7-year cycle that has opened for us. In one of the last episodes, I'll link that episode in the description, we spoke about this barrier or this veil surrounding the Earth planet. So as this barrier or this veil begins thinning, as we spoke about, the planet as well as the collective consciousness will begin to receive more information, more energy, more knowledge, and more nourishment through the sun and the sun's rays. This will aid in not only climate change as the planet releases its suppressed immune system, but will also aid in massive collective awakening. So in one of the last episodes, we spoke about this suppressed immune system that is Gaia and is within our own individual bodies. Micro and macro, everything is within, without. So this suppressed immune system is very much activating once again and reestablishing its core immune strength. In this episode, we're talking about the solar flash, which is playing a huge role in our collective awakening. The solar flash will be a turning point in our collective awakening. There is a cycle of 7 years that you as a collective are opening into. It opened with this year 2020, and will close with the year 2027. This is the great period of reintegration with the sun. Many of you already are aware of ancient cultures that have worshipped the sun and viewed the sun as a deity or god. But in your modern civilization, you have turned your backs on the sun and do not find the powerful connection that you once had with it as you have had in ancient cultures. It is not your fault. The veil has been hung close to your eyes, and the barrier surrounding your planet prevented your souls from receiving the full nourishment of the sun as your divine father. Why do you think that there is such powerful division in your communities? Your collective consciousness is the dialect of the greater energy flow of masculine and feminine in the non-physical. Meaning, if there is not unity in the greater masculine and feminine energy in the non-physical upon the planet, then there will be strong division in the dialect that emerges out of this greater separation. The barrier around Gaia, put in place by the reptilian agenda, has prevented the sun from directly connecting with the earth in its usual powerful ways. In your modern civilization, with the placement of the barrier around Earth, the sun's power upon Earth reduced to about 75% or more in comparison to the times of Atlantis and Lemuria. So when it says that the sun's power upon Earth reduced to about 75%, think about like the sun and kind of drawing the shades upon the sun about 75%. So we still got that 25% that we're receiving from the sun, but it's very much the veil or the barrier prevented 75% of the sun's nourishment and energy from being received by the earth. However, with the rising of consciousness and vibration and the thinning of this barrier or the thinning of this veil, the sun's power and impact upon your planet is rising, and it's now reaching about 40 to 50% is what came through. So if you think of the shade or the blinds being drawn, instead of it covering 75% of the sun, it's now kind of reduced to about 40 to 50%. It really feels kind of like a 45% drawn shade of the sun. So we're now receiving more than just 25%. We're receiving more than 50% really of the sun's nourishment and energy, whereas before it felt more like 25%. And again, if you look at the sun, I know a lot of you are connected to the sun and you are aware of the sun's changes, especially in the past few years. I did a video about that. I spoke briefly about the sun's changes from 3D into the 5D sun, and how that 5D sun is really an anchor for the planet in the shifting of consciousness. The 5D sun is bigger, it's brighter. You'll notice that the increase of size that it is right now versus when you were younger. And from personal experience, when I was younger, I would go to the beach almost every day. And so I would lie on the sand and look up at the sun and receive those sun's rays. And the size of the sun definitely is way bigger now and continues to get bigger than it was when I was younger looking up at the sun. And younger is just, being in high school and university. So still remembering the sun, how it was, and even, looking at sunsets, the sunset right now, that sun is huge. That glow of the orange sun is massive than it was when I was watching sunsets in Hawaii. So the sun is definitely changing. Our connection to the sun is changing visually, physically. You noticing these shifts are huge in your consciousness, in your own consciousness shift. And so the sun is a powerful anchor to connect to at this time as you shift. The sun's power will continue to get stronger as consciousness awakens. As the sun's power strengthens, Mother Gaia's immune system begins to activate back to full strength. The barrier suppressed her system for a very long time. With the activation of Gaia's immune system coming back into strength, there will be a rage of energy that travels throughout the planet, what you now have labeled as climate change, but is simply just the acclimation of the body of Gaia returning back into alignment with the sun's communication systems. This tuning process, however, involves disruptive energy and weather patterns around the globe. This 7-year cycle that you have entered is a period of time when your planet is energetically rebalancing herself and emerging from her suppressed immune system and realigning to her connection with the sun. The sun will powerfully assist in these energetic changes and shifts upon your planet. The sun's power is strong, but heat from the sun's rays are only a manifestation due to the imbalance of energy between the sun and the earth. The earth has cooling energy, and with a suppressed immune system created by the barrier put in place by the reptilians, the earth's internal equilibrium became imbalanced because it was no longer being regulated by the sun's energy, meaning the sun opens warmth upon the planet in alignment and connection to the Earth's equilibrium. The sun also directly affects Earth's equilibrium. So when the Earth's core returns back to balance, the sun's rays are not created to destroy, but are supplied to Gaia to create life. The only reason why the sun's rays are seen as destructive in your current society is because it's not in alignment with the Earth's core system. So it has been attempting to surge energy to reach Gaia through the barrier. The sun is not heat or fire, but power and energy. We spoke in one of the last episodes about this immune system coming back online and the suppressed immune system coming back into strength, and how, we have to start shifting our mindset and shifting the way that programs, as we grew up, all these programs of how we should see the sun or how we should be afraid or fearful of the sun, how we have to shift those programs into receiving sun as nourishment and energy and power. A lot of our old programs and beliefs about the sun and how it is harmful for us is actually perpetuating the manifestation of the harmful effects on the sun that we have manifested as a civilization, believing that the sun is bad for us. And so this goes along with everything, the flipping of the coins. A lot of our belief systems, a lot of our inner truths are shifting. Things that we believed to be true before, now we may open up our eyes and see that maybe there's something else to it, or something else is more truthful in alignment to what we truly know within us. Finding your inner truth is a powerful theme for this month. And over on our soul group member site, we are talking and exploring all about this inner truth energy that's rising for all of us, the entire collective, and exploring and deepening our connection to that this month. I'll put a link in the description as well if you'd like to join us over on our member site. So back to what came through. So you must understand that as you enter into these next 7 years, your planet will be going through massive energy changes due to the planet reestablishing her internal equilibrium in alignment with the sun. This will very strongly connect to the solar flash. And as I'm reading this, the guides are sort of bringing into my awareness an example that I can offer you guys. So me growing up in Hawaii, we have sort of the same weather throughout the entire year, fluctuating slightly, but nothing too dramatic. And so I was used to a certain type of weather pattern, a certain type of heat my body was exposed to. And when I moved to New York, it was my first dose of seasonal changes, especially going from hot or heat into extreme cold and snow and winter, so summer to winter. And the first few years, it was difficult for my body to adjust to the changing of the weather. And I very closely was connected to these energy changes going on. And over, it's been over 10 years that I've now been exposed to seasonal weather. And only now is my body really kind of regulated now to the seasonal changes. Whereas before it would kind of wreak havoc on my body because it wasn't used to going through these changes. And not only physical changes, but it came with emotional changes, it came with mental changes, it came with energetic changes. And so when I look back, everything is 2020, so you look back and you just I connect and I see how your body doesn't adjust right off the bat. It's kind of like going from hot water into cold water. You need that time to acclimate, but eventually your body does acclimate, but it does take time. So going back to the solar flash presents itself when the sun's rays can enter into the Earth's atmosphere and the body of the Earth without being resisted by this greater Earth's barrier or this greater Earth's veil. The sun and the earth will eventually return to their harmonic dance with each other, but they must go through a period of time of tuning and reestablishing their balanced relationship. The solar flash is a powerful energy surge from the sun. once it is able to break through the weakening barrier surrounding the Earth. It is almost time, as the barrier is very weak. When the time is right, the Sun will send energy to the Earth, and all devices not in alignment with expansion will be destroyed, meaning all devices that vibrate in lower energy will indescribably falter. This includes a lot of lower vibrational technology that a lot of people are worried about, whether it's microwaves, 5G towers, cell towers, even what came through as Wi-Fi. I'm not 100% sure in terms of the exact technologies, but we have to just kind of keep an open mind that everything is energy, and when we shift into higher vibrational energy, everything in lower vibrational energy, everything that does not align to that higher vibrational frequency cannot coexist together. Technology rooted in high frequency will continue to operate because high frequency technology will be a vibrational match to that higher frequency that we're moving into. Your society will also begin to realize that as you rebuild and create new devices for consumption, only devices using higher frequency energy will be able to be built. This means what came through is that the work of those who have brought through higher vibrational technology, such as Nikola Tesla, will emerge and be offered to our civilization in mass. Your internet will continue to work, but even energy runs through the grid of your internet. So even though before I said how Wi-Fi may be affected as a lower vibrational energy system, when this information came through about the internet continuing to work, I kind of had a vision of, even though Wi-Fi may, even if it goes down, there is, as lower vibrational technology still exists on this planet, there is also higher vibrational technology that is being produced and created at this time. So again, we're in a space in between 3D and 5D, and so there's a lot of new things emerging at this time, whether we realize it or not. It's happening, it's out there. It may not be at the forefront of our consumption because a lot of the collective is still consuming a lot of 3D things, but there are 5D things, and so even if there is 3D technology that is disrupted, then there's going to be a new solution that comes forth really easily because it's already out there. Someone has it. Someone is thinking about it right now. Someone is creating it right now. So the turnover or the replacement of all these old things, old systems, old programs, and all of that, old technology, I see as happening really, really fast. It won't take like years and years and years of no technology, but it's happening right now. The turnover is happening really, really quickly. So the internet will continue to work, but even energy runs through the grid of the internet. Everyone who takes part in the flow of your internet grid sends out and receives energy through the internet. The internet has become a space for energy consumption. And so there are many people who have utilized their space in the internet grid as a space to give and receive high vibrational content and information. There are other people who have utilized their space in the internet grid as a space to give and receive very low, very dark, and negative energy and information. The solar energy will thread throughout your internet grid and will weed out anything not in vibrational alignment with where Gaia is headed. And the spaces that cultivate high-frequency energy and sharing in the internet grid will continue to prosper and strengthen. You will notice many changes to even the internet, and eventually, everything that is of technology will have to fall in alignment to a specific frequency grid that exists in 5D, not 3D. It is simply a transfer of energy power from 3D into 5D, and many of your homes, technology, and systems will run on solar power. 3D systems are systems put in place by the reptilian agenda, made to further enslave souls upon the planet. making you dependent upon the exoskeleton of those in power. You as people will return gracefully to your worshipping of the sun as a source of natural power and life for your communities, and in return, the sun will happily continue to bestow upon you life, abundance, creation, nourishment, and energy. When will all of this happen, you might ask? But you must know that when is not a worry, but how. Meaning, the solar flash will open upon your planet as light, as a blinding light to many whose visions have been adjusted to darkness. For those of you who are awakened light workers, the solar flash may not be as bright, as many of your eyes have adjusted to the light. Be not afraid. The blinding light is a beacon of hope and a monument of change. Those who experience the solar flash as initially blinding will open their eyes to sight with new eyes. Whoever signifies light and all that is good will see with a new lens that inhibits 3D and will embrace new sight, which is 5D. Those who are not of light and all that is good will remain with the sight and lens of 3D, and they may notice that they are not in the same world that they once were. With the splitting of worlds also comes the splitting of people, those who exist with the lens of 3D and those who exist with the lens of 5D, and it will be your power of sight that will enable which lens that you view through. So you may ask, what signifies a person who is of light and all that is good, which will open their eyes to see through a 5D lens? Well, your souls are really the ones who hold that power. You cannot fathom a soul that is good, because even in our usage of the word good does not do it justice, as the word good still signifies duality. But the word good is the closest word that we can use to describe the vibration closest to those souls who will open sight and lens to 5D. You will feel the meaning in your heart. Even if you do bad things and may be labeled as bad in 3D duality, your heart and your soul filters your inner truth and desires as a person. A person that you may consider good in your 3D duality may very well have a heart of darkness, and a person that you consider bad in your 3D duality may very well have a heart of gold. Remember, everything in your reality is illusion, and in these times of change, you must strengthen your inner truth of who you truly are so that you may be divinely guided. The solar flash occurs when your collective reaches a tipping point in frequency. Right now, there is a powerful tug-of-war happening and playing out. The tipping point is not about tipping the scale of vibration, but about tipping the scale of consciousness, which is frequency. So, it is not about high vibration or low vibration, as even high and low are two ends of a duality stick, but it's about tipping the scales of open consciousness, which is rooted in frequency. You must know that a high frequency of open consciousness is different than a high vibration of emotional feeling. This is where it gets a bit confusing due to the English vocabulary and choosing the right words. You may associate high vibration as connected to feeling good or feeling positive, but even feeling good or feeling positive is being part of the duality scale. High vibration in feeling does not necessarily equal high frequency in consciousness. High frequency in open consciousness is the equivalent to a scale of color. Each color vibrates at a different frequency. In other words, each color holds different frequency light waves, which is not easily translatable to the human mind. But instead, the human mind will break down each color not associated with those frequency light waves, but as connected to things the mind can grasp, such as chakras, emotions, feelings. Opening consciousness is much like going beyond the surface level connections to color, such as chakras, emotions, and feelings, and diving into the frequency of each color, which is actually not at all connected to the chakras, emotions, or feelings. The chakras, emotions, and feelings only act as a doorway to opening the deeper frequency held there for discovery. The deeper frequencies of the colors will then eventually open you into the frequency of white light, or in other words, the frequency of oneness, which is ultimately oneness or unity consciousness. And so, opening consciousness in the collective mind is what opens a doorway for the solar flash to take place amongst your collective. The questions of when it will be and where you will be do not matter. It will be whenever and wherever you will be. And in your ability to manifest a reality that is in alignment with divine unfolding, you will always be exactly where you need to be, whenever and wherever. Do not be afraid at all. The unfolding is happening exactly the way it is meant to. So that's what came through. Like I said, I brought through all this information a few weeks ago. This is the last thing that came through. I'll sit down and see if there's anything else that wants to come through, maybe talking more about the opening of consciousness and how, what we were just talking about in terms of color, frequency can sort of equate to these light waves behind each color. But here in the physical, we can't necessarily translate those light waves, and so we break it down even further into the lower dimensional spaces that we can grasp, such as chakras, emotions, and feelings. And so basically we're moving up in consciousness and opening up into higher frequency is about kind of climbing your way up out of the lower vibrational perspectives of this duality-based reality that we exist in. And so some people get kind of lost in the vibrational scale. So there's high vibration and low vibration, but that still is a scale held in the lower duality plane for us to navigate this duality plane. But now it's about opening up consciousness that opens the barrier. It opens our connection to the sun. It opens your connection to oneness. It opens you into oneness consciousness, which is about opening up your perspective, climbing up above the duality. So I kind of feel more information about that possibly coming through for the next episode. Maybe more about the sun, but we'll see what comes through. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all of your support. This podcast, now called the Oneness Podcast with Jessica Delmar, can now be found on all podcast platforms. Listen and subscribe on Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and as always, it's available on YouTube. Thank you again for being here. I'll see you in the next episode, and remember that all is truly well. Oneness, love, and peace be with you.